Catus Maximus here. This time, quick video about this Sunex impact socket set. This will be the 1/2-inch drive short well impact. Got these for a pretty good deal. They do come in a big old case. I have railed about cases. I think the manufacturers would just make it easier to have a, like this is the 2826, to have a 2826R, which would be a socket rail, or 2826C for case, giving people the option. So for the people who don't want the case, it doesn't become wasted plastic and resources, more dinosaur blood. Best deal I could find for decent quality impact sockets, 26-piece set. So this is a master set from 10 through 36, except for no 31 millimeter. Always annoying when they do that. Charge us $5 more, and don't skip the one socket so that it doesn't, annoy people who are like, ooh, I still got to get that 31 millimeter. Not a very common size, but I have a deep well in 31, and I found that in an auto parts store. So 31's common enough. Enough of that. The other rail thing, for some reason, the 6-point 26-piece set, the sockets have a case where they're aligned vertically, so it's a little bit taller, a little bit fatter of a case, but it's much shorter. And so I'm like, why on earth is the metric laid horizontally in this big old case? And I think the idea really is if you end up buying a lot of, say, Sunex sockets, you'll have all these cases, and it's easier if you have a shelf that's all socket cases. You could easily tell tall cases are going to be 12-point. The squat cases are going to be 6-point. So that's about the best thing I could figure out, because I thought that was just so odd that these are laid horizontally where the 6 points are vertically. I mean, just didn't make a lot of sense. As you can see, 26 and above, these are well oiled. I will say that these aren't rusting during shipping. That's for sure. A little bit taller than the 25 millimeter, so as you get to the larger sizes, they do increase in size, and I'm kind of on the fence about that. Part of me wants all sockets that are all the same length, because that way I can count on them, but I also understand that when you're working with larger fasteners, you need more depth, so they preemptively make the larger size sockets a little bit taller, and I think that's just fine. If we were to compare it, for instance, 19 millimeters, I've got my trusty Huskies here. These are like 20 years old. These were like the first run of the non-American made Huskies. We can see that they're exactly the same height, so I consider a standard height, at least until you get to the larger sizes. And the Huskies do the same thing. They also increase in height once you get to the larger sizes, so I think that's just fine. As far as manufacturing quality, always pretty good on Sunex. They don't shaft for the input end, and really that's fine, because on impacts, even though it's nice to have the end chamfered, it does save a little bit of money. And on an impact, it rounds out the drive square anyway, so it will be radius after you use the socket a few times. A lot of good reviews. Forgot to mention, I paid $85 for these. There are some places, Tool Barn's trying to get $125 for the set. Pays to do your homework. I didn't actually get these from Amazon. I got these from the Home Depot's website for $85. Ship. That's a good deal. Sunex is known to have a good warranty, so that's why I've been buying more of their tools. And $85 for a 26-piece, 12-point short well impact socket set is just an awesome deal. This thing would be $500 off a tool truck. Pretty well made. Broaching the bottom of the sockets is really pretty flat. It's kind of hard to see because it's a black socket. It absorbs all the light, but it's really flat. So you get really all the depth. I do like that. I kind of like the traditionalism where they have a manufactured groove and 2 holes. Even though almost nobody uses that style of retention, which is a through-hole retention and pin retention, I still kind of like when sockets include that. They just have a single hole, so that would be the other criticism. They are indeed laser etched and roll stamped, although some people have commented, and I will agree, the roll stamping is there, but it is pretty tiny. I guess the only other thing to compare, let's go back to this 19, is wall thicknesses. These Huskies are pretty much don't wear out at all. They're extra thick. So you can see this is definitely thinner wall than a super thick Husky here. Although the Husky deep well is actually thinner than the short well. I don't know how that happened. And it's about the same thickness there. And so we'll see. I did get these Capri stubbies, which I did like, but one thing I was noticing is I just have used this 19 a couple times, and once was just doing a demonstration on a very hard bolt, just into that block of wood, and that bolt actually pounded the inside of the socket pretty well, and already got quite a bit of rounding, and this was just used like once or twice, so I was a little bit surprised. The Capris are just a little bit, I was expecting less wear, like I got with the Huskies, like this 19, which has just been hammered multiple times, and shows less wear than this Capri that's been used a couple of times. So let's see what this, how much wear, just a quick run-in of a very hard bolt does. It should be obvious. Here we are using the Milwaukee. Milwaukee recently changed the body style, which is the same impact wrench. These are not very particularly powerful for corded impact wrenches. Haven't run this for a while, but there's no question they're the best made. No, I've never seen any electric impact wrenches ever come close to the engineering of these, and I'll show someday. I got to do a teardown on one of these. But a two-stage, 8-gear planetary gearbox, and there's like 16 rolling bearings or something in this. The other thing that no impact wrench I've ever seen does is this is like a drill chuck. There's absolutely no play up and down. It absolutely does not move in and out, just as tight as a Milwaukee drill. Never seen any impact wrench like that. There we go. We'll give this a quick run in. Yeah, that bolt's like 120 degrees. Yeah, as I found and I suspected with the Capri, is just that kind of run-in a couple of times with the Capri really did cause quite a bit of rounding. Basically nothing on the Sunex. That's what I was expecting, was just based to not really see any noticeable wear. If it's a really good, and they're really good with their heat treatment, really good material I meant, then you should get some good wear out of Sunex. And that's what I've, so far I've heard about them. So, not really a lot else to say, except for, I don't want to forget, less wear on fasteners. I don't know who's coming up with that. But if I have a fastener, man, that bolt is still super hot. That's when you're torquing on it, anything that's flank drives is going to put all the pressure right there at the edge. So it doesn't matter if it's a 6-point. Can't even touch that thing. Or a 12-point. It's still going to be putting force on the corner of the fastener. This bolt I've used in super hot bolt, and you can see that the wear is happening on the corner. So I don't know what they mean by less wear on the fastener, because it's flank drive, and basically it's moving the pressure from the very edge of the corner to in a little bit, but they're both basically hitting and concentrating the force on the same spot. It's just on a 6-point, as the pressure increases and the bolt deforms, then it starts engaging a even wider area than obviously a 12-point can. So I just don't know where they got the whole less wear on a fastener, and just never heard that before. So anyway, a long video. That was just a quick demonstration, just running in a short bolt, but it did have a fair amount of friction the way throughout its run. I can appreciate that. And soft sockets, you know, everybody's run into this. Maybe it was that a socket that didn't have a good heat treatment or something, but you're like, wow, I've just only used that a few times, and the whole drive side just gets totally rounded out super fast, and you're like, what on earth is going on? So the Sunexes are pretty decent. Obviously, if you have rusted or jammed, super high torque fasteners that actually aren't 12-point fasteners, which you run into on various German vehicles, diesel engines, and that type of stuff, BMW axle nuts are 12-point, things like that. But if you have a jammed or rusty fastener and you use 6 points, but 12 points just make life easier. It's just a lot easier, even with hot bolts, to be able just to jam the socket on, just boom, boom. When you have a 6-point, you're trying to, turn the wrench. God, this thing is super hot. Trying to kind of get it on, and if you're in a hurry or, time is money, and a lot of people work flat rate, then 12 points are just easier. You can always just get the tool on the fasteners. It's super simple and easy. So I do like 12 points for that reason. And the final note here is people have talked about, even in some of my videos, the sockets look plasticky. They look plasticky because they're oiled. When you oil the industrial carbon finish, then it gives it a sheen. As you can see, that's the way this socket started out. Now that I've handled it, it has the same old dull, traditional industrial finish that you've come to expect. So yes, new impact sockets will look plasticky because of the oil. Anyway, sorry for the long video, but I really appreciate everybody who's been watching and subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. Until next time, Catus Maximus out.